Today I want to give you a little extra context into some of the downsides and some of the benefits of living in Colorado Springs. And instead of just listing out my personal thoughts, what better way to do it than reading some reviews on the city of Colorado Springs on the popular review site niche.com. My name is Ben, and in this channel we make videos about what it's like to live and move to Colorado Springs. Also, we are a team of realtors, so if you are getting any value out of these videos, go ahead and give us a call or a text. We'd love to hear from you. So, like I mentioned, today I really want to go over some of the reviews on niche.com for Colorado Springs and looking at across the spectrum, the lowest reviews, kind of some middle reviews, and some of the higher reviews, just so you can get some opinions of other people, but also then hear my feedback on those reviews, so you can kind of get an idea based on someone who has grown up here and spent a ton of time here. And in general, I just know a lot of the downsides and the upshots of living here, and really want you guys to be aware if you are thinking about moving here. And I haven't like cherry picked any of these reviews, so this is like my first time actually reading through these, so this is my unfiltered take on some of these reviews. So let's start off in the natural place, the 1-star reviews. Colorado Springs was a beautiful small city until 12 years ago. It is now a fast food, chain restaurant, car wash mecca by design. Crime of all types are worse than numbers show. Why? No police to report it. It takes days to talk to an officer about vehicle theft. Apartments are plentiful, cheaply built, and very expensive. There are so many apartments, they destroyed the foothills to put up more. Neighborhoods have the same 3 to 4 house models. It's eerie. A smaller decent house costs $575. It's so expensive. Homelessness is everywhere. Drug and sex trafficking is rampant. Infrastructure, traffic, medical care, retaining police and firefighters are a huge problem. As a 50-year resident, I can tell you Colorado Springs is now a polluted, crowded, unacceptable air quality, high crime, and dirty city. So there's a lot to kind of go over here. I mean, I think the first thing to touch on, it is kind of just a suburban city in general. So if they've lived here for so long, I could see just the expansion being a little unsettling for them. You could definitely find a house for under $575. The average is closer to like $475, so I'm not sure what they were going off there. And it's always kind of been more suburban, so when they say the same 3 or 4 models, I mean, it's always kind of been that way. And there is a shortage of police officers and firefighters as the city is growing, so I think that's a valid point. But I think overall they're probably a little tainted based on the fact that the city has grown so much and they like the smaller size cities. Alright, here's another one. This town is just a step up from Pueblo. No pride in the looks of the city. Weeds and trash everywhere. Homelessness, a huge problem in this town. Too much military and a very transient population with no plan for growth. Antiquated roads and infrastructure. I mean, it's definitely a huge step up from Pueblo, even just purely based on crime stats. And yeah, I guess again, as the city grows, there's going to be more weeds and trash. I'm not sure what weeds they're seeing, but I guess. And yeah, with the military population in general, it's going to be some transient people in and out based on where they're stationed, but it's not everyone who's military, so I don't know. I think that's a little off. Alright, moved to Colorado Springs 2.5 years ago. I feel Colorado Springs is a hick town. Very unfriendly people are small-minded. It doesn't matter where you go. People don't know how to act professional. Hospital, store, gas stations, etc. Dress like hick. I have not seen anything interesting. I must move out of here and never come back. Well, first off, the grammar on here is giving kind of hick vibes, not gonna lie, so that seems a little contradictory. So I mean, based on my experience, I feel like people actually are pretty friendly here. And I've lived in quite a few states, so I mean, maybe this person is from like a super small town in like the nicest part of the country, in my opinion, like, I don't know, maybe Minnesota or something, and they're just not used to it, but I feel like it's a little off. Let's do this one. There is a lack of culture here, and there are too many chain restaurants. There are a lot of great tattoo artists, though. Yeah, I mean, there are some really good tattoo artists. I agree on that. Yeah, it is pretty suburban. There are quite a few chain restaurants, so I feel like that is pretty valid, and if that matters to you, you should probably just move to Denver. Alright, let's do one more of these 1-star reviews, and then we'll go to some of the middle reviews. Move to get away from traffic and high rent. Can't afford a home. Rent eats up 80% of my pay. It's worse than back home. Cannot wait to leave. Well, I'm not sure where this person's from, but yeah, I mean, it is getting more expensive. If they moved from like a bigger city, I could like maybe something that's slightly bigger than Colorado Springs and they were looking for more of like a small town rent payment, I could see this being a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, in general, costs have gone up quite a bit, especially in the last 5 years. All right, let's look at some of the 3-star reviews. I feel like it's always really weird when people leave 3-star reviews. It's like, who had such a moderate experience that they leave such a mid-star review? They just feel like they want to critique something in a very accurate way. I mean, I honestly appreciate it because it probably is the most accurate. All right, let's do this one. I love how Colorado has grown, made new jobs and opportunities for people. I don't like the cost they keep raising the prices on things, but haven't given people a raise in pay. Nowadays, you have to be a 2-income house plus a side job to make ends meet. I think this is kind of accurate in the sense that, yeah, it's definitely not cheap. I mean, you can't like live in a 4-bedroom house and just make minimum wage or close to it. So I mean, depending on what they were making, I could see their frustration here. You can't really just necessarily judge Colorado Springs when I feel like just the cost of living in general across the whole country is kind of expensive. Colorado Springs has been a great area. I've enjoyed all of the things there are to do in and around town. It's interesting that that one's 3 stars. Let's do this one. Although Colorado Springs has shown a very artistic side of this city to me, it can be very expensive as far as living expenses go. I do enjoy the nature and festivals along with the vast variety of different cultures. This one's interesting. I feel like in general, the cultural diversity is pretty non-existent in Colorado Springs. So it'd be interesting to hear this person's experience. But that being said, kind of common theme on all of these is just the cost of living. You know, it is getting more expensive. It used to be under the national average and it is going up. I think it's like over 5% over the national average now, so I mean, that kind of makes sense. I enjoy living here because it is more peaceful than any other places I've been. Even though it is a beautiful place to live, it is very expensive. Again, you know, it's beautiful, but it is getting more expensive. Let's do one more of these and we'll go to the 5-star reviews. I love the mountains and the broad array of outdoorsy activities in the area. Unfortunately, Colorado Springs is also the definition of suburbia, overrun by endless chain restaurants and stores unless you go all the way to downtown. With the layout of the city, you can drive 20 minutes in any directions and still be in Colorado Springs regardless of where you start. That is true. Colorado Springs is pretty spread out and it can feel pretty suburban, like I've mentioned already. Yeah, there are some areas, especially like downtown, Old Colorado City, Manitou, Palmer Lake, where you aren't going to feel this as much, but for the vast majority of Colorado Springs, it is going to be pretty suburban. All right, let's go up to some of the 5-star reviews from 17 days ago. So far, my experience with Colorado Springs has been a positive one. My fiance and I are really enjoying being in Colorado. People are very friendly here. See, not everyone thinks people are unfriendly here. There are a lot more things to do here than there are to do in Kansas. The views are absolutely incredible. Definitely more to do than Kansas, unless you're in like maybe Kansas City. So yeah, it seems like anyone who's moving from a smaller town isn't too worried about the kind of suburban feel, but maybe if you're moving from a really big city like Los Angeles or Chicago or New York City, and you're expecting it to be more like Denver, that's just not going to be the case. You're probably going to be disappointed, so that makes sense. Colorado Springs is a beautiful city. Garden of the Gods is a must visit, as well as multiple climbing gyms. Having grown up here, I've always taken Garden of the Gods for granted, and it is true. The contrast of the rock with the mountains is pretty cool. Colorado Springs is a great town to raise a family in. It also allows for a positive experience, and I really enjoy it. There's definitely some good schools in the area. I agree, definitely a good place to raise a family. Oh man, let's see. Okay, let's do this one. I like that they are building more apartments and houses. I also like that there are more local restaurants. I love supporting local. So, I mean, here I think you can kind of see the contrast of just perspectives between people who are saying that there's like no local options and it's just chain restaurants, versus people like this who are saying there's a ton of local options. So I think it's probably based on, you know, where this person's located within Colorado Springs compared to maybe the other person, but also just what you're used to. Again, you know, if you're moving from a small city or a small town, there's gonna be tons of options, tons of local places, especially closer to downtown. And bonus 1-star review that I thought was a really fun one that my wife Zoe found. I absolutely hate this city. I come from a small town in the south where most people have common sense and manners, unlike this fake evil place. The environment is beautiful, but the people here are completely worthless. Damn, I feel attacked in every way possible. I could go into lots of details, but it's not worth the time. Convenient. I have friends back home who will say to me repeatedly, God hates the West, and I believe them. My family and I will be moving back ASAP and never come back. Bye. So that kind of does it for reading some of these reviews. Really, again, just wanted to show you some of the different perspectives, in my opinion, on things. I think in general, all of these the common theme was just the cost of living and kind of suburban feel depending on where you moved from. And for any locals, let us know your review in the comments from 1 to 5 stars. We'd love to hear your opinion. And as always, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.